Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So in this video, we're going to tackle the newest battle simulator, and it looks like there's two types. Each one has 4 stages, and each of those have 2 difficulty levels. So 4 of each normal, and 4 of each extreme, so to speak. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So we're going to take on Trial to fix the time distortion. And so again, this will be all 4 stages of the normal version. And keep in mind that you only do get 3 bold pulses. You need 1 bold pulse to unlock that stage for 6 hours, I believe. And you can try it as many times as you want to either optimize your strategy, or if you lose or only do part of the strategy, then you can refight them as needed and adjust. So in this first one, I'm just bringing a full magic team. Wasn't sure what to expect. Like most of these kind of battle simulator boss things, I tried not to look up any information or even watch any videos ahead of time. Just kind of give myself a fresh look at the fight and kind of see what we're up against. So in stage 1, being that there wasn't any sort of hints otherwise, I brought a full magic team. I did say before, and I'll say it again, I do find magic team is definitely the most versatile, one of the most powerful ones. A lot of enemies don't use nearly as many magical attacks as they do physical attacks, and so I find it's a good bet. Not to mention we have debuffs, shields, healing, type shields, and so on and so forth. Alright, so again, this first stage is meant to be really an introduction to these fights, and keep in mind that as you work through the main story is when you start unlocking some of these different battle simulator stages. The earliest ones, I believe, is locked after 26, and I believe some of these are unlocked after chapter 44 and 60 something respectively, as per the notice last night. Now that being said, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, again, I'm not really sure what to expect, and so we're just going to attack it without the AF. Obviously there is an HP stopper here, and it looks like it's a 99% damage kill. So it doesn't kill you. However, I was very worried at this point. I had actually tried a couple of times to make sure that I was able to fight it. And again, note that there's 2 basically fought bosses in the final wave, where you have to kill each one. Each one does a 99% HP stopper. Now, the good thing about the normal version is that those don't kill you. I suspect that in the extreme version, if you don't do it properly, those will probably do extreme damage that's beyond 99% kill, and so be very, very prepared that the extreme version is going to be a lot harder than the normal version. Now that being said, for each stage you beat, you do get chrono stones. Sometimes you get other rewards as well. In the case of the first introduction, gives you 50 or 60 chrono stones. And note that the difficulty level is only rated at 4. Certainly not the most challenging content out there. Here's the loadout as usual, and I realize that this team is pretty overpowered for the difficulty of that first fight. But like I said, when tackling all of these endgame content, I really don't like to fool around and just wing it. I usually bring a pretty powerful team unless I figure that it won't require that much. And so obviously, again, make sure you experiment with your own teams. I would imagine that if you're wondering and having some difficulty with Battle Simulator, my advice, make sure you have a fair bit of Grasta, especially enhanced with Dormanted or other types of ores, those orange ones there. I wouldn't recommend tackling these even at the lowest difficulties without any Grasta. You might get overwhelmed very, very quickly. And so the Battle Simulator is really meant for at least early to mid-end game, if not any later than that. And the extreme stages, I would not advise against those unless you are severe, like essentially endgame, because they are tough for even players like myself, which has a lot of the units and Grasta in the game. Alright, so moving forward, stage 2 is a little bit more restrictive. You do have to use 3 main characters here, Amy, Rika, as well as Helena. And so I recommend all of them to be level 80. So again, if you're only part of the main story, you probably don't have them all leveled up yet. That being said, being that 2 of them are blunt users, I decided to go with, I tried blunt team first, and it was really, really slow. And so I decided to go with an earth team, being that Rika is an earth-based unit, Helena is an earth-based unit, and though Amy is not, we can certainly sub with other units such as free unit Serene. We also have May, which is from the latest ensemble. She does quite a bit of damage. Make sure you check out my 5-star review of her if you'd like. I also will say that if you're wondering about my damage output, that looks a little bit lower than usual. I didn't optimize my Grasta completely. Some of these units I don't use on a regular basis, and so another complaint I will say about Battle Simulator in general, you usually have to tailor and customize your Grasta before each fight, especially if you are bringing in units you don't normally use, and so it actually takes a lot of time for prep work. And so in this case, I didn't really spend too much time on prepping it. May, I already had all Grasta up. Rika, certainly not, and obviously Amy and Helena, I haven't used for some time. So I do apologize if it seems a little bit longer than average. This particular stage does require a 10-turn finish or faster, and so be aware that you want to bring some top-tier DPS. Obviously, I could have used Ayasubame or the likes of those. I think that would have shredded the opponents. They all don't seem to have any sort of... it didn't say any sort of effective attacks because they warn you ahead of time in the very beginning of each stage as to what team to bring, and so you can experiment with that, or as I said before, go through it, beat it the first time, and then see how it goes. Okay, so for those who fought and gotten AS Levia, you'll recognize the Ghost King from Wave 3 of that fight. This one doesn't seem to have an HP stopper. However, the same rules apply. In normal stages, you probably can get away with this kind of team where you're not putting any power and int dual debuffs or shields. We do have Miufa applying a 25% power down, and she actually gives herself and whole team 30% type up, so not even totally shieldless. It's just I'm not using a dual debuffer or obviously a lot more control in the game. So we're really here to just kind of experiment with it, see what kind of HP stoppers we're up against, and so on and so forth. Alright, so in this final one, we're just going to blast it down with an AF, and clearly you can see that most of these do have HP stoppers, and so I wasn't unexpected of that. At this stage, if you do have a full AF and you do set it up, make sure you apply all your buffs and debuffs to your team so that right after AF, you can either do a one-shot post AF and clear the boss very, very easily. And the normal stages, most of these only have a few million. At the higher stages, you're approaching 10 million or more. So also be aware of that, especially for players who are relatively new to the game, being that there have been so many new players from the Complex Dream collab. And again, I welcome you to the game. Hopefully you have been enjoying not only the content that I've been putting out, but certainly the game in general, and I hope you are here to stay even after completing the Complex Dream Symphony. So if you're wondering why I only got those 2 rewards, I did it the first time and did not clear it within 10 turns, and I'm a little bit ashamed about that, so we are going to just move on from there. So if you're wondering, this setup that I have for May is the same one that I used for stage 4 of the Battle Simulator normal style, normal difficulty for Cyrus, in which case I do one-shot kills with Giganto Break, and it will end the Cyrus frogs so you can get a ton of XP grind in a very short time. I think like 40 seconds or less. Very, very quickly level up all your manifests as well as enemies. I mean, your characters, so to speak. Alright, so again, you can see not nearly optimized, whatever, as long as we get through it. That's all that matters. And I know there's a lot of you out there who want to do the 4-turn kill, 5-turn kill, and so on and so forth. For me, I just really want to beat the content, hopefully share some insight with some of my struggles or shortcuts in fighting this. And so I do apologize way in advance for not having the most optimized strat. Just want to kind of beat it down and see what we're up against. Alright, so in our third stage, we are bringing a mixed team here. We do have to use Aldo, Gildna, and Fene, and so we're going to use all free characters here. I find that free characters, especially for Slash or Slash Fire, is great. We have Crest as a Slash Zone setter. We have Aldo, obviously, especially for myself, having a 255 Aldo. We can do tremendous amounts of damage. And we have Gildna. Some of you may not have really leveled up Gildna that much. He has a lot of utility. Not only can he use Distortion, like you can see here, minus 2020 for int power as well as physical resistance down. I mean, that really helps to protect the team. And if you do have a higher level Aldo, don't forget to equip your 4th move after 120 light. use Swift Cut, which is a 20% power down. It doesn't do much damage, but against some of these tougher fights, you want to have a power down just in case. Now, in the case of Cress, you can customize his moves the way you want to. I actually put Coil as my third move. Distortion Blade obviously enhances the power of your team. And of course, you can use the Demonic Tiger Blade as your DPS. But certainly the extra 20% resistance with that physical shield from Coil and the increased max HP really does help. Mila, nothing really to explain. You've probably seen a lot of videos with her in it. She is one of our best kind of supports. She uses Cloud Pierce, which basically puts a type down 45 on the enemy single target. But at the end of turn, she'll do a move that will match the element of your units that you use all moves on. And so if you use a lot of non-elemental attacks, and we have a lot with obviously Crest, we can use Gilna and so on and so forth, you can get a heal at the end of turn from Mila, which is why it's really, really good. Now, the downside to it is because it does cost a lot of MP to cast that Cloud Pierce. Just be very aware that you might have to use some MP regen gear or Grasta and rotate her to the back if you're running low in MP. Now, that being said, this is only in the normal stage, so we can end it relatively quickly. Aldo with this X slash really does a lot of damage with his max light there. Alright, so I believe we're on the final wave of stage 3 here. We've seen the Ogre Baron in other boss rush or battle simulators, and if you're wondering why you have to complete certain chapters in order to fight this battle simulator, it's because this particular boss doesn't show up until later in the main story, and obviously you should not encounter someone in the battle simulator if you haven't ever fought the live version. Now, we're going to activate an AF as usual. Make sure we set up our buffs and debuffs. So we have the Whirling Assault for physical resist down, Dragon God Slash. We put Coil again. Make sure everyone's kind of healed up and shielded. We have Cloud Pierce cast so that at the end of turn we'll have a heal, just like that. And really, it's just a matter of blasting it down. It does have an HP stopper, obviously, and so, you just have to watch out for that. All right. So you go, second HP stopper. So not sure the exact amounts. I'm guessing something along the lines of 30% and 70% HP stopper. So the first 30% will stop, and then the second 40% will stop, and then you have a little bit left. And we can end it obviously with just any number of moves. I'm going with Volcano Blade if you're wondering why. It's only so we can get crit damage up for the whole party, and since I knew that that would be enough to kill the Ogre Baron, then that is all we needed. Now in this final one, I thought that Ogre Baron was the final one. I do apologize. Aldo, or Crazy Aldo, or Possessed Aldo with Ogre Rancor is no slouch. I guarantee that this one in Extreme will be extremely difficult to beat. So you can clearly see 50% HP stopper, but the problem is at the 50% HP stopper, if you hit it, it'll counter you, and you'll see at the end of this AF what it's going to do, because it's just going to hit you hard and repeatedly. And so if you don't have near full HP and a lot of power down and shields, you're going to take tons and tons of hits. Remember, this is under normal, and you're taking quite a bit of damage, and there's another AF finisher with the Ogre Rancor. So right there, you can see it's still a fair bit of damage, honestly. And keep in mind, I do have Distortion down, Swift Cut down, we have Coil up, so a lot of shields at normal stage. Be very aware that this can end you very, very quickly. However, after surviving, it's not going to be a problem. Like I said, Extreme is going to be a different animal altogether, and so I'm not looking forward to that. That being said, Stage 3 is done. All requirements are met, and so if you can get it all in one go, you do get save some time and finish it up. All right, so as usual, the loadout here. So we did have to have, remember, Fene, Gilna, and Aldo. And Aldo is obviously not a problem because Aldo does a ton of damage. I really do like him as a free-to-play. Obviously, not everyone has a 255, but since we were able to grind for so many months and years, finally have one, and can't really say I've ever used him more. He is used all the time in my Fire Slash teams. Fine obviously is just there to exist. We have Crest. Crest is our Grasta holder. it's not that he doesn't do a lot of damage, it's I'm finding that Aldo and Gildner were in our front line mainly for debuffs, and they can take more hits because of, they're just more resistant to damage than some of the other units on our team. Okay, in stage 4, now this one's interesting. Like most final stages, it requires 4 units or less. However, it does give us an advantage. Slash, weak to slash for all enemies. And so we are using the exact same setup. All Grasta, all gear is going to be the same. However, we just cut out some of the less useful units like Fine and Cyrus. Not to say they're not good, just don't need it with this powerful 4-person team. Just like before, make sure you don't run out of MP. However, you've seen the strategies we can use. X-Slash, Volcano Blade, Coil, Distortion, Swift Cut, depending on what you need, and so on and so forth. Now, in this final stage, I believe each of these great elementals don't have an HP stopper, and so X-Slash, especially all powered up with multiple gear, Grasta, and or one shot, all of them go down. And it's really interesting because normally these are elementals which would resist or absorb the appropriate element. The Great Salamander, for example, normally shouldn't be damaged by fire. However, it allows us to damage it with fire, and that was really interesting, which made the fight a lot easier. Walked over the 3 elements. We are on the 4th Great Elemental. The Gnome here shouldn't be a problem since the other 3 fell so quickly. And we were correct. Alright, so all 4 are done. We still have a full AF. Nothing really has hit us, actually. So it's almost like we were fighting the bad baddies. We just one hit, they die. One hit, they die. Alright. So again, if you don't have a highlight Aldo, I'm sure you can use other powerful slash users. I'm sure you can use AS Billy or other units like that. In this case, I'm just using this because it was fun and just wanted to see if Aldo can handle it. We have a half HP stopper. And again, Cloud Pierce helps heal. We cast Distortion to make sure the dual power int is down. Resistance-wise, we have type down 45 with the Cloud Pierce. And then one last hit with Aldo's X-Slash all powered up was more than enough to end it with no AF. Alright, so hopefully this video does give you some insight as to how to beat it. Note that you do need to use 4 or less units as well as within 15 turns to get all the rewards, and remember that you'll have to clear it all at once if you want the final reward. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.